So if we can be assisted by closing some of those doors. Okay, thank you so much, and welcome to the dining room and working room at the same time. We'll try and work with modesty. Yeah, they will be helping us, taking out the dishes, and we'll be helping ourselves to dessert. So please feel free to eat. There's still a lot of food outside. There's dessert, there's everything, there's drinks. But we will do that slightly quietly so we can hear what is happening up here. If we have to wait for another hour, then we will run out of our own time. So we will work whilst we eat. Thank you so much and welcome back. Sis Pulu is gone. I'm Geli Cylinder. I'm going to take you through the next hour and a half before we go home. And there's a swap a little bit. The NEF team is supposed to leave in no time. So instead of the BDS starting, we will start with the partnerships. And so Sis Thengiwe will come up and she will present to us, and then we can continue immediately after that. I'm not going to say much. Please come up. You're more than welcome. Thengiwe Makatini from NEF. She will introduce herself and introduce NEF and introduce the work that they are doing. Our greatest interest from them for today is the issue of partnerships. So we've heard about technology, we've heard about finance and policy issues. So this afternoon we are going to talk more about what facilitates business. But one of those issues and things are partnerships, and she's going to talk about those. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Skede said, my name is Thengiwe Makatini. I'm a divisional executive for venture capital and corporate finance at the National Empowerment Fund. I was just talking to Siswet just before I came up here, asking how long I've been there. I've been there for 10 years, so I'm part of the NEF furniture now. As the National Empowerment Fund, we truly honored this afternoon to come and address you, ladies and the few gentlemen that are around. I am not here alone. I'm here with two of my colleagues who are also very capable of assisting whoever will need assistance after this presentation. And, you know, if you want more guidance about how the NF can assist you. So, in the table just in front of me, we have Ms. Sejak Ekane. She is the head of our Strategic Projects Fund. I'll tell you more about it in my presentation. And in the table there in the corner, we have Ms. Mpumi Majola. She is our client relationship manager. So the National Empowerment Fund, we call ourselves the funder with the soul. And as I said earlier, we're truly honored to participate in this dialogue on making finance work for women. I'll just start by giving you some statistics around issues of women, and then later on I'll tell you how, as the NEF, we try and address those challenges that we face, especially as a country, but most of the challenges are also global. It is devastating to learn that women and girls all over the world are held back simply because of their gender. They are disproportionately affected by discrimination, by violence and exploitation. Too many are deprived opportunities to an education and to basic healthcare services. In order to overcome some of the inequalities that have been deliberated on during this conference, Dealing with financing of women-owned ventures, the world must prioritize their needs as basic human rights. The great news, the one thing that we've identified as the NEF is that when you invest in businesses that are run by women, it makes a lot of economic sense. I trust that in our continuous engagements, we will interrogate what else needs to be done, and so that as the world, we have more educated, empowered, and women who can participate actively in the economy. Gender equality is one of the most effective ways to fight extreme poverty and build wealthier and more educated communities. Studies show that women reinvest up to 90% of their incomes back into their families, compared to a mere 30 to 40% that men invest into their families and their societies. Investing in women and girls create long-term social and economic benefits for all individuals, their communities, and the world as a whole. It is important to mention that as the NEF, we have observed an interesting trend throughout our investing life cycle, that enterprises that are owned by women, they always have an inclination to settle their debts even before the allocated time. So if we give you money and we say you can pay us in 5 years, almost all the transactions that have paid us before time are women-owned entities. 31 million girls around the world do not have the opportunity to pursue an education. Every day they are taken out of school and forced to work or marry. 1 out of 5 girls in the developing world does not even complete the 6th grade. However, we know that educated girls and women are healthier, have the skills to make choices over their own future, and can lift themselves, their communities, and their countries out of poverty. Even 1 more year in school makes a difference. A girl's income will increase by up to 25% every year she stays in school. So as the NEF, because we say we're a funder with a soul, and ours is not just about giving money. When we learned about these things, we decided that it is very important for us to actually partner with CELC in Bring a Girl Child to Work. But we were saying, what impact does it have if, myself as Hlengi with my daughter who's exposed to so many things, bringing her to work. So our initiative was a bit different. So we, most of us, we come from some rural area somewhere. So we will choose schools from very deep rural areas in the Eastern Cape, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Mpumalanga. And then in those schools, we'll ask them to, give us names of girls who work hard. They don't have to all be A students, because they could have reasons why they are not A students, but girls who work hard, that the teachers believe they need this exposure. We'll then bring them here. Actually, this year, we even partnered with the JSE, where they went and saw the JSE opening in the morning. They were part of the ringing of the bells, because we understand the impact of education for young girls. We partner with investment banks so that we expose them, because our children, they already live in Sentin, they're already exposed to these things. For us, the impact will be bigger and better if we bring children who, because of where they are, if their parents were to take them to work, it wouldn't be something that would inspire them to, aspire to achieve more in life. By late last year, South Africa ranked 14th in the World Economic Forum's Gender Gap Index, a measurement of political empowerment, economic participation, education attainment, health and survival across 135 countries around the world. So we're doing very well in that regard. South Africa and Lesotho, which was in 9th place, so Lesotho was ahead of us, were the only 2 African countries to feature in the index's top 20. South Africa scored very well in the political empowerment of women. I mean, we know that in our parliament, we have a fair representation of MPs between male and female, and even in our cabinet. While corresponding measures around economic participation of women, especially income earned by women, so it dropped to a low of 74th place on the index. So we're doing well on the political front, but we are not really achieving what we want to achieve to empower women economically. A critical question arising from this finding is whether we are doing enough as a country to truly empower women in the sphere of business and economic development. In my view, Program Director, true inclusive growth comes about because of financial and economic empowerment, which is an outcome of increased levels of participation. In the South African context, as defined in the Codes of Good Practice, I'm sure we are all aware that the NEF is an agency that has been mandated to facilitate and implement the BBBE policy and obviously the Codes of Good Practice. Broad-based empowerment must address indicators such as ownership in businesses, management control, employment equity, preferential procurement, skills development, enterprise, and socio-economic development. Earlier on, some of the speakers were talking about the challenges in enterprise development and how companies, whether they are really taking this to heart in terms of partnership and making sure that they develop suppliers and so forth. So as the NEF, as far as back as 4 years ago, we actually launched an ED fund and we targeted entities, but we told them that we don't want you to just give us money and then say, let's give it out. We want true partnerships. So we partnered with some, oil companies. So what they do is that they will give us the ED money, because one of the critical challenges that are faced, especially by Black entrepreneurs, whether they're male or female, is the issue of own contribution and how their businesses are supposed to be funded and geared. So we'll then get into a partnership, and I don't want to name any of the companies because I don't want to be promoting them. But we'll get into a partnership and they will give us the ED portion, and the ED portion comes at very reasonable rates. It's mostly below prime. And then, the ED portion will be a 40% towards, so let's say you come and say, I want 5 million rands to own service station from company X. So the NEF will put in 60% at normal commercial, funding rates, and the ED fund from them. So they will actually now be motivated to go and find these Black entrepreneurs that they want to put in their retail network, because if they don't, we will tell them that they are breaching the terms of partnership. So, and we've seen great success of those businesses, because now the entrepreneurs don't have a lot of big obligations to worry about in terms of how they've geared their businesses, but at the same time, they know that they have support, because in our arrangements, because sometimes when you have to negotiate with this big oil company just as an individual thing, it's difficult. But if an institution like the NEF has negotiated terms for you, it becomes, so that's how we also partner entrepreneurs with big businesses and make sure that markets are properly opened for them. Integral to this imperative must be the acceptance that in as much as South African society cannot progress without Black people in the forefront of the economic mainstream, so too will progress and growth be unattainable without the active, primary, fundamental and meaningful participation of women across all spheres of human endeavor, and especially in business. Often we ask the question about what it is that the private sector is doing to achieve an inclusive economy, and this is the question we should never stop asking. However, an equally important question is whether women managers, executives, shareholders, directors, whether they are Black or white, are actually, also fighting for that cause. So if you are a director in that business, do you fight for women issues? When there are opportunities in your company, do you actually push that we should look at supporting women-owned businesses? And if we as women don't do that for each other, then we as, agenda are in serious trouble. So let's continue supporting each other. At the NEF, I think we are well known for that, where opportunities are there. We will push our colleagues to say, have you considered women-owned businesses? Can't you find, this is not rocket science. Even if it's rocket science, go and find that woman. It must be, we'll rather delay the process until we find and make sure that we properly support. And that's even if you're sitting in the board of these big, companies, you must challenge the status quo. Don't just be happy to be the one who sits there and you don't see other women, growing and taking leadership positions. While the NEF is mandated by government to facilitate the development of Black entrepreneurs through financial and non-financial support, we are forever conscious that this includes the economic development of women. It is often Black women who find it the hardest to access business capital, and consequently they cannot pursue growth opportunities or bid for preferential contracts to develop their enterprises into competitive and sustainable businesses. While women make up to 52% of the adult population in South Africa, it is estimated that they only comprise of 41% of the working South African population. In fact, the census of 2013 report of the Business Women's Association indicate that women constitute only 14.7% of all executive managers and 7.1% of all directors in the country. Realizing that BBBE still has a long way to go and that funding mechanisms must evolve with market realities, the NEF continuously reviews its strategy and operations to find quicker, more efficient methods and product development initiatives through which to deliver on its mandate in facilitating Black participation in the national economy. Accordingly, to date, the NEF has approved in excess of 6.6 billion rands for Black empowered businesses, a meaningful volume of which comprises businesses that are owned and managed by Black women. Further, because the NEF understands that its mission involves creation of Black industrialists, work in our strategic projects fund. So the lady Seja over there, this is where she heads at the NEF. The SPF is a unit of the National Empowerment Fund established with a mandate to increase the participation of Black people in early stage projects that are aligned to national government policy. So about 7 years ago, we realized that as much as we're doing good work, but we needed to try and do more. So one of the key market failures we had identified is the lack of venture capital, especially for Black people. So when Black people have got ideas, they have innovative ideas, they have new technologies they want to bring into the country, they didn't have anywhere to go in terms of venture capital funding. And the other, so you'll find that, and there were a lot of new industries. I mean, the renewable energy industry is a new industry, but Black people were being left out because they didn't have the seed capital or the development funding that is required for you to prepare, for those projects, go and bid and so forth. So we came up with this project to make sure that Black people also participate at the early stages of the business rather than just buying businesses that are already established. You have to pay premiums because the owners have built goodwill and so forth. So the fund has been created to seek competitive opportunities for South African economy and the inclusion of Black participation in opportunities at the outset of the projects, as opposed to doing so during equity closures. The total portfolio that we've built to date is about 20 projects, which will add about 27 billion rands in the economy when you actually commercialize them. Out of the 20, about 5 are now actually operational companies that are employing people. And, we know that in 3 to 5 years' time, some of them will actually also be listing on the JSE. And these are Black people who came to us with ideas and, a passion, and we partnered with them. So in this fund, we don't just give you, that's like a proper partnership. So we become part of the project development committee. We have, depending on the nature of the project, it could be monthly, it could be every 2 weeks. We have meetings around the progress of how the project is developing. We engage with government departments to try and open markets for you. Actually, there's a project that Sejan and Hetima working on. It's called Ginago Medical. So this guy came to us and said, are you guys aware that South Africa imports all the syringes that we use and the needles? We don't manufacture any of them. And the main input component is actually coming from South Africa. So Sasol produces, I'm not an engineer, so what is it, Seja? The plastic, yes. Yes, and then they export it to Brazil, to the East. They make syringes and then they sell them back to us. It doesn't make sense. Why can't we make our own syringes? So then we started developing the project to see, will it be viable? Maybe there are things they do overseas to this input that we maybe are not. But when we did the feasibility, we found that actually we can do it as South Africa. But now the next issue becomes the market. So because you can produce all these syringes, and then if you go to the Department of Health, they'll tell you, no, we go on tender, and we go for the cheapest price. So because now this entrepreneur has partnered with us as the NF, then we went to the DTI and said, we need intervention. Can you help us designate a certain portion of syringes so that when this plant is up and running, we know that all the syringes that we produce are going to be taken by the Department of Health. So those are the types of partnership that we get into as the NEF, because then we are creating jobs, we are replacing imports, and I'm sure once the Department of Health sees that we're delivering good quality, then they might just designate the entire syringe and needle tender instead of just a portion of it. So these projects have got a potential to create over 80,000 jobs. In order to serve the demands of the evolving BE financing market, as the NEF, we provide funding, and we also do what we call social and economic development. The fund management department is responsible for providing startup expansion and equity finance, whilst our socio-economic development unit is there to promote the culture of savings and investments among Black people through the development and offer of retail products and services such as investor education. So what we do is we go to rural areas, townships. We actually have outreaches to talk to our people about investing. What are the different options? Why would you want to put your money in the stock market? What are the risks of doing that? What are other options that are there? What are unit trusts? How do they work? So that people are more empowered and knowledgeable about how they can, save their money and grow their wealth in the process. We also have our pre-investment unit, which helps with the pre-screening. So they are the first people you interact with when you go to the NEF. And it's there to actually, engage with you, understand what are your aspirations and how we can assist you and partner with you. Through that department, we have what you call a business plan toolkit, which is also an interactive online tool that assists you to develop a business plan, because that is one of the challenges that entrepreneurs will come to us with, that you guys want business plans, I don't even know, where to start. We also have our post-investment and team which monitors and supports entrepreneurs. We actually have recently launched what we call the back office support. So for all our SMEs, they don't have to worry about accounting services. From the day that the NEF gives you money, we will take care of your accounting services at our own cost. The NEF measures and assesses its impact not only based on financial return. So, I know that one of the things that entrepreneurs always complain about is that DFIs also charge you the same kind of commercial. So how are they developing you if they are going to be charging you exorbitant, interest rates? So we have what we call an empowerment dividend. So our model works in a funny way that a very risky business can actually end up paying less in terms of interest because of how empowering it is. So we have our empowerment dividend is a discount we offer. So if your business is owned by women, you definitely get a discount. If it's in a rural area, if it's creating jobs, if it's somewhere else other than in the big provinces, so if it's in the outlying province, so so the empowerment dividend looks at all those things, and therefore a deal in rural KZN, which to a normal banker or a commercial person would be high risk, which deserves to be charged prime +5, at the NEF it could be charged prime -1. That's how we want to develop our communities. We have also opened regional offices so that we are more accessible to people across the country, because in the past we were only here in Gauteng. So we have regional offices in all the provinces except for the Northern Cape. The Northern Cape office will start operating beginning of February in 2016. Women empowerment is at the forefront and central to National Empowerment Fund, as we recognize that women are crucial to the South African economic growth. Since its inception by value, approximately 26% of businesses funded are owned and managed by Black women, and this is expected to increase to 40%. So our board have said 26% is too low, so in the next 5 years, we want at least 40% of our portfolio to be in businesses that are owned by women. And as a result, we then introduced a fund called the Women Empowerment Fund. And since introduction of that fund, actually in the last financial year, the NEF's commitments, 47% of them went towards businesses that are women-owned, because everyone now in the business is actually focused on finding those women entrepreneurs that we want to support. And I'll just want to make 2 examples of women we funded in industries that are traditionally male-dominated. There's a business called Comberero Consulting and Equipment Services. So the business is 100% owned by Black women, and it provides concrete pumping services to the construction industry. So we provided them funding to actually buy those, those things that always 10 years, and So their clients are like On Time, AfriSam, Ready Mix, Group 5, and other big construction companies. The second one, this one we're also very proud of this lady with Boniswa Corporate Solutions. They erect and install antenna masts for leading telecoms companies. So when they first came to us, they asked for 2 million rands. We gave it to them. We had given them 24 months to pay. In 18 months, they had paid. They came back. They asked. So now they're even a much bigger business. I think we've just recently approved 10 million rands for them because of the amount of orders that they're getting as a result of our initial support of this business. Sorry. Okay. So the obstacles that we've seen as the NEF that women face in business range from balancing work and family to securing entrepreneurial financing. These are among the reasons why the NEF created the Women Empowerment Fund. Drawing on our experiences as well as on interactions with business women from our current portfolio, these are 3 priorities that women are saying are key challenges. First is the access to entrepreneurial capital. When it comes to finance, women face particular hurdles, from a lack of collateral to discriminatory regulations and ingrained gender biases. Deals are made in golf courses, and as women, we are left at home looking after the kids, so you don't, get to know what deal is going to be closed when. So targeted funding directed at women-owned businesses could make a big difference. It is because of this challenge that the NEF believes financial institutions must do a better job of banking on women's potential by thinking creatively and forging partnerships to give more women a shot at the financial resources that can enable them to start up or scale up their business ventures. Secondly, non-financial business support to ensure that once funded women entrepreneurs flourish. The NEF has always believed in the value of pre-investment guidance and post-investment support. Most women do not have that support, which helps explain why around the world we see fewer opportunities for entrepreneurship than men do. Third, women need entrepreneurial education. As witnessed in our pre-investment engagements, winning business concepts are just as likely to be conceived at the kitchen table as in the garage or at business school. But studies show that women doubt their capabilities and fear failure more than men. Training can equip women with the confidence to see their bold ideas through. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, may I implore all of you here present to send the message to world leaders that women and girls must be put at the front and center of all global decisions. We must hold policymakers accountable to ensure that women's rights are prioritized in the development agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, especially ladies, accept our invitation to you to approach the National Empowerment Fund. In accordance with the NEF's investment policy, we provide business loans to Black entrepreneurs to start up expansion and equity transformation purposes ranging from 250,000 rands to 75 million rands. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Sister Ngiwe. I will give her 5 minutes to answer questions. If there's anyone with a question. Okay, there's one. Any other? Another one? Okay, so Alidia, your question.
Thank you for the comprehensive presentation. I just want to ask two small questions. The first one is your shareholding in a company. How long does it last? Does it last until the loan has been repaid, or how do you work around it? The other question I want to ask is repayment of the loan negotiable in terms of when can you start? For example, if I start a business in January, can I agree with you that I'll start paying in the next January because that's when I'll start selling?
Okay, any other question? Going once, going twice, gone. Oh, okay. So, please, a mic there. You'll be able to, okay.
Thanks, Daniel, for your presentation. I just want to find out, your women fund, can you give us some insights on, sort of like what you've learned since you've put that fund in place? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the first question on shareholding in companies, so as the NF will take equity in the business because we want to have a structure that is going to work for your business. So our shareholding will normally last until our debt is repaid. But sometimes if an entrepreneur says, actually, I want to be running this business on my own, I want to buy you out, 3 years, then we can get into some arrangements around buying us out as equity holders. And then in terms of repayment, we literally are a cash flow funder, so we want to see when is your business going to start generating cash flows. So for example, if you come to us, you want to build your own service station. So we must give you money to build the service station, but you'll only start getting money when you sell, the fuel. So we'll then give you, a 12-month moratorium because maybe you need 12 months to build that service station. But what we always, tell our clients is that obviously that 12 months is not a holiday. So you are accruing interest, it's just that you are going to start paying us later. So by the time you start paying us, obviously the money will be a bit more than what you would have paid from day one. But if the business hasn't started operating, we can't be asking you, otherwise you will take our money and use it to pay us. And then in terms of what we've seen since we started, so when the fund actually started last year. And the first thing that we've seen is that, because people used to say, no, there are no women-owned businesses that are coming. The reason we're having 20% is that, it's a demand-driven business. So one of the things we've seen is that our own professionals are now more proactive, and also when people come with transactions, and maybe you want a lot of money as a startup, then we will ask you, why are you not partnering with women? You want a lot of money from the NEF, partner with women. We don't know who the women are that you're supposed to partner with, but you should know some women that can add value to your business. And I mean, as I had said other observations earlier, women, are very good payers. Most of the people who default in our portfolio are not women. So women are generally very good payers because they don't like not to honor their debts.
Okay, so sorry. So in terms of your deal flow, so you're saying, are you seeing sizable women's businesses? That's what we're trying to get to. Because I think we all sort of, the perception is that, I guess it's also reality, that women's businesses are stuck. It's not like the small slash survivor.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, your fund, you really want to, you want to support
Big.
medium-sized women's businesses. So I think we're just trying to understand, is the deal flow there? And if so, where are you getting the deals from,
Okay. So I made an example earlier on of Boniswa. When they came, they were very small. And with our partnership and working with them, they are now growing. So the bigger deals we get from women-owned businesses are normally repeat clients. So it's someone that we've worked with before, and now they are seeing bigger opportunities, and because we are there to encourage them and say, you can even go further than. So it's very rare, I must be honest, for a women group to come and say, can we have 75 million rands? Those are normally led by men, because I think generally women just are scared to be heavily indebted. So they will come asking for 5 million rands. They deal with that opportunity, then they want to grow, then they come asking for 20 million rands. So they come and look for it in tranches. But I mean, if you look at it over the past 10 years, on average, 26% of our portfolio is in women. And last year alone, 47% of our commitments were in women-owned businesses, because we are also then engaging with the women that are in our portfolio to say, but why are you not taking this opportunity? And then they will say, no, I'm afraid, I'm going to owe money. And then we say, but if you structure it like this, this is how it can open up more opportunities for you. But we have regional officers, as I was saying. They also are helping us a lot in actually, so they will attend, women conferences. We will engage with women associations, different associations for women who are in business, and also source our deal flow from there.
Okay. Thank you ever so much. Thanks, Sisengiwe. So we will release her to go, and I'll allow the team outside to come in to just collect some. Okay, so I'll catch up with her outside. So I'll allow the team to come in and try and sort us out in terms of the empty plates and dirty plates. And whilst that is happening, I'll ask the BDS team to just go straight there for the mic wiring, and then we can start again. Just 5 minutes. You can just take a breather, 5 minutes. We're on time, and we will finish on time, definitely. Thank you.